Good Thursday afternoon to you on this July 2nd, 2 days before fireworks and outdoor fun day, 4th of July, Independence Day. On Saturday, we got today and tomorrow to round out the week, and we want you to be a part of it at 360-8255. That's the First Bank phone line. And it's 67129 at the First Bank text line. Neither Dave nor Drew with me today. Drew unexpectedly has to be out today and maybe even tomorrow. Hopefully we'll be back on Monday. Dave will be back a week from Monday after some time off. But we're with you until 6 o'clock. Carl Morris producing, and we have plenty in store today. The college football news today about wherever you turn, it's not good. Whether it's the A&M penalties, what a time for a document dump. And it always is around this time of year. Around the 4th of July, usually some big news. I've done this show for 28 years now. We'll be starting my 29th in September, so rounding out 28, and I'm usually here around this time of year. A lot of people like to take that second and third and into the fourth if it's into the weekend, and then a few days after that. I did last year, but I'm going to say through the years, I probably have been here during these shows 23, 24 years, missed 4 or 5 of them through the years. And usually there's a lot of news because it is a great time to drop out there that story that you don't want on a big news time. I think that's what A&M did today with the 6-month show cause for Jimbo Fisher. Big deal out there in the headlines with everything going on, both news and sports and college football wise. Good time to get that out there. That's not that big a deal for Jimbo Fisher. One very sad story that occurred around this time, and it was no document dump, it was no news dump, was the very sad death of Steve McNair came around these days. And I'll never forget those days, and rounded up Joe Biddle to join me. Both George and Dave were away. I had it solo, and that news broke. And I got Joe Biddle, I think even on 4th of July night that news occurred, and got Joe on the next day, and he was in tears because just like the few of us here for that very short time that the Tennessee Oilers played in Memphis, we all fell in love with Steve McNair. He was just one of the stand-up, forthright, honest, great guys of all time. That year the Oilers were in Memphis, I loved it. I love those guys. Fell in love with Blaine Bishop and Eddie George. Wide receiver Chris Sanders from Ohio State was just a super good guy. There was an offensive lineman from North Carolina. What was he? He was a great guy. But one of the best was Steve McNair. Jeff Fisher was great to be around. So we had that 1 year around him, and then all those guys in Nashville that covered him for so long, and his heart, his spirit, his tenacity, how he played so hurt so many Sundays, shot up, taped up, bruised, battered, and would play just right through anything. And Joe Biddle told the story that day about him, that he had the injury, and I don't know how to nicely put it medically, since we have proven in these last few months we are not doctors, but basically the muscle around several rib cage bones had been torn loose. Just think how painful that would be. Just the straight up broken ribs would hurt, but that muscle torn apart from the bone and most of the rib cage along his left side, and the needle, as Joe Biddle described it, was about this long. That's my arms, is about as wide as you can separate them from it, and that's how Joe described it that day, that he would have to take that shot before the game, before pregame warm-up, another one before the game, one during the game, and one at halftime just to get through the game. That's how tough he was. And Joe that day said something, and I remember when he said it, I thought, I don't know if I'd have said it that way. That might be some blowback. And there was a little, but I knew how he meant it. And we didn't have quite the ways to react to shows then like we do now with text and Twitter and all the various things. We just had old-fashioned email. May have still had the fax machine hooked up. But Joe that day said it, but he said it with in tears, with his voice breaking, that he didn't know. He said, Steve McNair was so tough, I didn't think 4 shots would kill him. And I knew what he meant. I knew what he meant. He did not mean it at all crass or heartless. He meant it that he was that big of a warrior. So a lot of times we have a lot of news over these days. So it was a good spot for A&M to bury the Jimbo Fisher show cause for 6 months. And they kind of wanted to blame Jay Graham, the running backs coach, on the way out. He got the same thing. He was running backs coach at Texas A&M, and now the former Tennessee player back at Tennessee on Jeremy Pruitt's staff. Great player, and will be and is a rising star in the coaching industry. But the other news from college football, and we will talk a lot of college football today, but the South Carolina governor, Governor Henry McMaster, if it matters, a Republican, said he just sees no way for anything resembling traditional high school or college football in the state of South Carolina anytime soon, into the fall, maybe into the spring, with a lot of hopes now resting on the potential of a spring plan. And I have plenty of thoughts about that. The first one, I don't think there will be a spring plan unless we have a vaccine. And I just saw whatever specialist, whatever expert, whatever with all the proper degrees behind the last name. It was name, comma, and all the different letters and degrees and schools, and I'm not challenging any of that. I'm here to respect that. And she said you can forget it on the vaccine being the miracle probably for the calendar year 2020 for this reason. First of all, we ain't gotten it yet. Second, I know everybody in the world is working on it, and it's almost like the mission to the moon to get there for it for a lot of reasons. The first one for health. The second one, somebody's going to make a lot of money because the U.S. government's going to buy every dose they can get their hands on for everyone. It ought to be free when we get it. I think that'd be about the least the government could do for us is provide everybody a COVID-19 vaccine shot. But she also went on to say the fastest from we need a vaccine to getting it out there was for mumps, and it was the better part of 4 to 5 years. The polio vaccine, some 70 years ago, it took a long time for it. Now it now has an effective rate of something in the 90s. Even with a vaccine, they're talking about, Dr. Fauci testified earlier this week, maybe latter part of last week, but at some point he testified in front of the United States Senate that not everybody's going to take it because we have a very strong, pardon the phrase, virulent anti-vaxxer crowd out there. And then what would the effective rate be? 70, 75, 80%? And if only 60, 70, 80% of the public took it. Now, it may be a requirement at a workplace. It may be a requirement like at school. You're seeing a lot of places now mandating flu shots for this coming year. You got to show your papers. Show me your papers, and you're going to have to produce that you took the shot, the flu shot. I think we will see that with the COVID-19 shot someday that you will carry around. Might be on your phone, might just be a piece of paper, like from the doctor. A doctor's excuse of he or she's clear, or he or she hadn't taken it, and that will be maybe something mandated around the workplace. Speaking of Congress, Keith Carter, the athletics director at Ole Miss, he testified in front of a congressional panel, and his exact quote was he's not as optimistic now on July 1st, 2nd as he was on June 1st, June 2nd. And Keith has been very open to the spring plan. I'm open to the spring plan. I just don't see how we really could do that if we can't do it in somewhat of the traditional fall plan. Maybe not August, maybe not September, but instead of school starting as early as we're now trying to start it, maybe look at trying to start it late. Speaking of school starting, Southern Cal, the USC, the Trojans, Alabama's opening opponent this year in 2020. They had made the proclamation weeks back that they were going to have in-person, real school this fall. Now they're not. They're going to do everything online nothing in person. And you know what that means for them, for USC and for the Pac-12. And it all trickles down to whom they have scheduled, like Alabama. Alabama, I think, has always had TCU, and TCU with them. It's not just a one-way street. It's an agreement between Alabama and TCU, I think, as it's been reported, as I've been told, kind of as a standby opponent for Alabama opening day if it plays but USC doesn't. You will see a lot of that. Ole Miss's second week opponent, Southeast Missouri, from Cape Girardeau, they've already canceled their opening game. I just don't know if that you would cancel your opening game but play your second game, but they might, since it is such a payday for that FCS school to play against anybody in FBS, but to come to Oxford and be the opponent for Ole Miss week 2. So there's a lot of not positive news out there today. Oklahoma, the Oklahoma University, OU, Boomer Sooner, Norman, all country. You would stereotype them as wealthy and as well-heeled and rich as anybody out there, wouldn't you? Would you describe them as that, Carl? Would you call Oklahoma in good shape? You wouldn't? I would. I would describe them as in very good shape, and they announced today $13.7 million in athletics department's budget cuts. $13.7 million. Anybody that makes over $1 million in their athletics department with a mandated 10% cut. Big money, speaking of big money, Florida, they received $47.4 million for the 2018-2019 fiscal year from the SEC as part of a record $651 million payout to the 14-member schools, according to the Orlando Sentinel. We had Matt Michelle on yesterday from the Orlando Sentinel. Florida's disbursement was almost $2 million more than the $45 million in revenue they got in 2017-2018. The average amount distributed to each SEC school for 2018-2019 was almost $45 million, an increase of $1.5 million. Those latter figures don't include the money Florida got from its New Year's Six Bowl payout, and the Gators have won back-to-back New Year's Six Bowl games under Coach Dan Mullen. The SEC earned a record $720 million in total revenue. That's not far from $1 billion. $720 million in total revenue in 2018-2019, up 9% from the previous fiscal year. Only made it by on $660 million the year before. Glad they were able to get by. The league earned $477 million from TV and radio revenue and $209 million from postseason events. And now we're broke? How in the world did that happen? How do we have so much money? And I've said it almost from the first week of the virus and everything that has trickled down from the virus, all the cuts that we have to take, all the lean times everywhere you look. A college tennis program, men's and women's tennis programs are being eliminated. We don't have 2 quarters to rub together, but we had almost $1 billion just a little bit ago.
Sounds like it comes from a lot of blowing money off and like not saving some of it just for hard times, such as this pandemic.
There was no hard times ever foreseen. It was just profligate spending, and now we go from how do we pay the players to we can't have a tennis team, we can't have soccer teams, we can't have wrestling teams, cross country teams, swimming everywhere cut. And a lot of our listeners may not be that big of tennis, swimming, wrestling fans, maybe wrestling fans, but maybe not wrestling fans. And I understand that. I don't know if it really rings my chimes that much either to go and watch that. But that's somebody's chance to go to college. That is somebody's chance to go to college and then excel, have zero student loan debt at the end of it. I heard John very impassioned at the end of his show about about Dr. Rudd and some of the forecasts he's making, and I mostly agree with John. I agree entirely with John about that. It's a lot of rosy forecasts and a lot of rosy plans, and you may not be the biggest Olympics fan either, but all these cuts you're seeing in some of these Olympic sports, spring, summer sports that don't have big gate crowds at it, that don't have a lot of fans in attendance at it. It's mostly the athlete, their teammates, their coach, and their family at it and really caring about it. You'll see it. You'll see it someday come to roost in the Olympics. When we look up in 2024 or 2028 when Los Angeles hosts, and gosh, how come the United States is so far down the medal board? Why are we not winning like we used to win in swimming and track and all that? This will be why. This is the seed that is not being planted to be good in those out years. So we will see the struggle with that. That may not bother you. May not bother you when you tune into the 2028 Olympics. It sounds so far away that you got a whole lot more to worry about. But I guarantee you it will come home to roost. Again, 67129 at the First Bank text line, 360-8255 at the First Bank phone line. And you can visit firstbankonline.com. First Bank, they know what you need. You need a reliable, trustworthy Memphis banker that can give you an answer. They make the decisions for Memphis right here in Memphis, not out of town. No loan committee in Birmingham or Atlanta or Nashville. And in Birmingham, it can get lost on all those floors of those downtown banks. No, First Bank, they make the decision right here. A direct answer from the First Bank banker you're dealing with. First Bank with stories and a record of customers reaching high. Community banks are the preferred lender of people building a success story. Build your success story with First Bank. They're here to help you, whether you're a business looking for a loan to expand or refinance an existing one, a homeowner looking for a mortgage or home equity line, a consumer wanting to finance your dream car, or if you're wanting a competitive rate on your CD, let First Bank be your first stop. Build your success story with First Bank. FirstBankOnline.com. That's FirstBankOnline.com. Bill Bender from the Sporting News will join us at 3:30. He joins us at 3:30 on Thursdays, usually August through the national championship game. So he's going to be with us kind of during his time. I hope we have Bill this fall with a college football season, but he'll be with us today from the Sporting News at 3:30, and also some thoughts on Major League Baseball from Bill, as he is based there in Ohio and on the coverage of Cleveland and Cincinnati's spring training 2, or summer camp, as many are calling it, for the Major League Baseball potential restart. At 4 o'clock, Keith Smith from Yahoo Sports in Orlando on the NBA and the NBA restart. 25 positive cases now for the NBA, more today. 25 total. That's out of about, well, do 15 times 30, and that's the total case, but 25 out of that. The number is growing. At 4:30, first time we'll have him on, he's on the beat for Sports Illustrated covering Ole Miss, and that's going to be Nate Gabler, and looking forward to visiting with him on the beat for Sports Illustrated, and been plenty to cover with Ole Miss with the hiring of Lane Kiffin. It seems like about 10 years ago already, and he's still 0-0 till last week with all the flag controversy at the Mississippi State Legislature, and today with the comments by Ole Miss Athletics Director Keith Carter about not looking as promising for the college football season as it did on June 1. At 5 o'clock, our buddy from WWL in New Orleans, Mike Detillier, he will join us on Pelicans and their restart plans, on the New Orleans Saints, on the real or perceived image now of Drew Brees in that city where he could do no wrong before his comments a month or so ago. The most favored player ever. Supplanted Archie Manning as number one Saint, supplanted Morton Anderson, Deuce McAllister, all-time biggest sports figure in the history of New Orleans. Drew Brees will ask how his image has been damaged or helped since his comments a month or so ago. And also, anytime we have Mike, we will get an update on his buddy Ed Orgeron and on his LSU Tigers as they get ready to try to defend their national championship, breaking in a new quarterback, Miles Brennan, to replace the record-setting Joe Burrow. At 5:30, Drew and I were going to do this, so I'm still going to do it, and it was hard for me to narrow it down. I don't know how many college football games I've been to in my life. I really don't. I'm going to guess around, I'd start at 275, 300, and be around that neighborhood. I know I've been going to 12 to 15 a year for the last 25 years. And before that, I was going quite a bit. But I had never done it, and it has been hard for me. I have scratched out and redone and thought of, and another one popped up. I have my top 10 college football games I've been to in person. My top 10 college football games I've been to in person. Shoot me yours at 67129 at the First Bank text line. I know you probably don't have room or time to go through all 10, but 2 or 3 of your favorites I'd love to see people and see if they match up. Almost all of these, some of them I didn't necessarily have a team, a team I was really far in it, but a lot of them they are, and almost all of them, the team I was for, it was a win. No need to put a loss in there as one of your all-time games, and I didn't. We'll do that at 5:30, and then we'll wrap up this day about 5:50 or so with Taco Bell Crunch Time. Every day, this hour brought to you by Lexus of Memphis, 2600 Ridgeway, and online at lexusofmemphis.com. Call them at 901-362-8833. Lexus of Memphis offering the Golden Opportunity Sales Event. Great offers on all 2020 models and special lease options. If you've ever thought I'd look great in a Lexus, well, guess what? You will. And Lexus of Memphis will make sure that you're in one of their beautiful new cars. Drive in luxury and confidence, knowing that every new Lexus comes with complimentary first and second maintenance services. Stop by Lexus of Memphis at 2600 Ridgeway and put yourself in the driver's seat of an all-new 2020 flagship LS500, and you'll be looking and driving great. Lexus of Memphis, the highest standards in the industry. When you purchase a Lexus, you get top-of-the-line engineering and design, and that makes for the luxury driving experience. Call them at 901-362-8833. Online at lexusofmemphis.com. Experience amazing at Lexus of Memphis.
Top story of the day.
My top story, first or maybe the second sign of retreat from the National Football League. Kind of the first one was the Hall of Fame game canceled to the surprise of nobody. It's sad for them. It's sad for Canton. We'll talk with Bill Pender about that as well. I enjoy the game for about a quarter every year. But now the 2 preseason games canceled, and reports that the other 2, by many other reports, that the other 2 are in very, very precarious shape. That would be sad if we missed out on a preseason for the first and foremost reason, people trying to make a team, trying to find out who can go and who can't. Younger guys trying to make a team, whether it's a special teams guy or the 5th defensive back or the 5th wide receiver or the 3rd quarterback. Also, we're going to miss it for this reason, the medical reason, the ability for a team to, on the fly, learn how to handle the virus and test and quarantines and all that goes with that. The NFL will have to be flying really blind if they have no preseason and they try to have a season.
Not top story of the day.
PGA Tour is leading with a common sense approach. They're playing in Detroit. I wouldn't have give you 50 cents they would play in Detroit when they had the announced reconformed schedule, just because of how hard Detroit got hit, how medically and illness-wise it was hit, and all the shutdowns, the lockdowns in the state of Michigan. But the Tour, they're playing there today, and they are lighting it up. Bryson DeChambeau, as I speak, just swinging for the downs, about 319 in the air on his drive, according to, I'm sorry, I cheated him, about 343 in the air. But their approach has changed, and it's a common sense one. If you test positive, like Cameron Champ did, then through stringent safety protocols, all those with CDC guidelines, and then you continue to test negatively after that, then you can return. I think that makes a lot of sense. For college sports, that would make a lot of sense. For everybody. In a workplace, it would make common sense. Yes, test positively today, quarantine, isolate, make sure, track, make sure everything's okay. But then after, I think now for Cameron Champ, 4 negatives, he may be the most tested man in the country. I don't know if the president and the vice president are getting tested that often, but all the while with accordance of CDC guidelines, it might be a good case study for the rest of sports to try that. Maybe the rest of the country, we could learn from it. One positive test does not mean you're son of Frankenstein, and you're never going to enter back into society, and especially if you're younger, like players on the PGA Tour like they are. So that's our top and not top story of the day. Bill Bender from the Sporting News, he'll be with us coming up soon, and then we'll have Keith Smith at 4 o'clock. Nate Gabler from Sports Illustrated covering Ole Miss at 4:30. Mike Detillier from WWL down in New Orleans. We're Sports Time on AM 560, 87.7, 96.1. And up next from the Sporting News, Bill Bender.
Take Sports 56 with you on your phone or tablet. Download our official Sports 56 app today.
It's time to tee it up at Edwin Watts Golf Shop's 4th of July sale from July 3rd to July 6th. Get a 50% bonus trade-in towards all inline TaylorMade Cobra and Callaway golf clubs. Restock your wardrobe with 25% off all closeout apparel. And save big on all stand bags, now 15% off. Edwin Watts Golf Shop's 4th of July sale with huge savings in every department. Happening July 3rd through the 6th. Edwin Watts Golf Shops, home of the 90-day 100% satisfaction guarantee. Selection may vary. See store for details.
Did you know nearly 40% of men under 40 and over 75% of men over the age of 40 experience sexual performance concerns? At the Memphis Men's Clinic, their experienced physician performs a comprehensive evaluation that determines which specific issues may interfere with your sexual performance. These issues can vary and range from anxiety to medical issues, low testosterone, or erectile dysfunction. The Memphis Men's Clinic has evaluated hundreds of men of all ages over the years and reestablished a normal sexual life. The Memphis Men's Clinic will work aggressively to resolve issues and allow you to restore your sexual health and overall well-being. That's the Memphis way. If you're 20 years old or 90 years old, come and get cared for the Memphis way. Treatment that's based on your specific needs after a professional clinical evaluation by their experienced board-certified physician. Call the Memphis Men's Clinic.
No worry, Carl. Just watch that, okay?
443-0475 or visit memphismensclinic.com.
Hi, this is Rob Brown. Join Pete Cordelli and me for Sidelines Saturday mornings, 8 to 10 a.m. on Sports 56, 87.7, and 96.1 FM. We'll cover the Memphis Tigers, the SEC, recruiting. Hey, if they keep score, we're covering it. Check us out on the website at sports56whbq.com and sidelines.live. Sidelines is brought to you by Duncan Williams Asset Management. Saturday mornings, 8 to 10 a.m. Get up and give us a call.
Now, back to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Lexus of Memphis. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brett Norsworthy.
You talk about a sight for sore eyes. On Thursday at 3:30, I look up on our screen, and I see from the Sporting News, Bill Bender with us. How great is that? Almost 4th of July, we would really be starting the ramp up to college football right now, and I'd be about 2 weeks out from seeing Brother Bill Bender from the Sporting News in Atlanta at the SEC Media Days. But not this year, Bill, and I'm going to miss you, and I mean that sincerely. It makes me sad. How are you?
Oh, like everybody else, yes, sad and conflicted. And, you know, like you said, July 4th to me is always, aside from, you know, the most important date in our country's history in a lot of ways, to the unofficial start of college football season to me, you know, because we all talk about the preview mags, and it hurts that there's such this cloud of uncertainty around the entire season that we're still looking at here in the middle of July. Since the last time I talked to you guys, I don't know that much has changed.
I don't either, Bill. I say it on the air too. Today, July 2nd, how different is it really from May 2nd? And we got some golf. I'm glad to have it. I love golf. We've got a lot of plans. We got a lot of hope. We got a little bit of hope. But how different is it really from May 2nd? How different is it really from April 2nd?
Well, I mean, in our end in Ohio, you know, we've had youth baseball. I've had a chance to coach my son in an outdoor league. But, you know, now
that counts.
What's that?
That counts for sure. Heck yeah.
Yeah, and well, I mean, it's something, and then, but the everyday shadow of the coronavirus still lingers. I mean, today we were talking about, Columbus made it mandatory that you wear face coverings. You really can't have 9-year-old boys wear face coverings during a baseball game for other health risks. So we're kind of in a wait-and-see mode there, but we're just going to try to play as much as we can and be as safe as we can while we do it.
Well said, and I'm with you. And Columbus will really be the eye of the sports and virus storm starting late Sunday night into Monday for the next 2 weeks, as they will host next week the on the fly renamed. Let me get the name of the tournament the right way. The Workday Charity Classic that will be at Muirfield Village in Dublin, Ohio, and then the Memorial, the Great Jack Nicklaus's tournament the following week, and we expect a Tiger Woods sighting, fanless next week, but then limited fans for the Memorial. And from afar, Bill, I can't knock Governor Mike DeWine. I think he's done the best he can do and a pretty darn good job, considering it's a global one in however many years pandemic.
Yeah, and the Memorial will be really interesting. That is a tradition in Columbus that's up there with not Ohio State football, but I mean, every summer everybody looks forward to it because it's Jack's tournament, it's Jack's course, and hopefully it goes well. As I look across the landscape of the other major sports, MLS, there's a lot of positive tests. MLB, same deal. NBA, I'm not sure what's going on there, but college football gives me the most worries, Brett, just because we're dealing with college athletes, we're dealing with an amateur system, we're dealing with different conferences, universities, interest regions of the country, and we're dealing with too many positive tests, honestly. And all of those things have me a little bit antsy. I know Twitter and social media gets in this war of, well, these writers don't want football season. That couldn't be further from the truth. I mean, because our jobs and livelihoods depend on it too.
Exactly. And not to mention our livelihoods. We love this stuff. I mean, I know you do. Neither one of us, and I don't think anybody in the world would ever ask this of someone. We wouldn't do it for free, but we love doing it.
No, yeah. I mean, then there's talk of the spring season. I mean, I'm not. I would have anxiousness about that as well, just because if I'm Trevor Lawrence or Justin Fields or even the 3-star kid playing for UAB that has a chance for life-changing money to go to the NFL draft, I'm not sure I would play. And I'm not sure that I am fairly certain, and I read Dan Wolken's tweet today and totally agree with it, the NFL is not going to move their draft so colleges can play because the NFL
nor should they.
And they wouldn't. And there's no way they would because, I mean, the truth of the matter is college football is the minor league system for the NFL, and if their players, their investments aren't playing, they're protected.
Amen. And I agree with Dan's premise, and flag the tape. It's not many times that I say that, and he was on earlier on our station today, but I agree with that. The NFL's not going to move. They're not going to accommodate, nor should they. They're not an opponent of. They're certainly not pulling against, but they're not in a partnership with college football. And anybody that's ever thought it's nuts. I know several years ago there was somebody, more than several years ago, it was late 90s, Bill, and they were getting mad at the NFL for kind of rating the juniors and the third-year players. And someone suggested, well, let's quit credentialing them as scouts and quit letting them hang around. No coach would be for that because he loves selling, I'm going to get you to the NFL.
No, yeah, the best PSA for a college football coach is I can develop you in 3 years, I can get you a degree, and I can get you to the NFL as a first-round pick. And, if you need any proof of that, look at the 3 best programs in the country right now. I mean, if you tell me anybody does it better than Alabama, Clemson, and Ohio State, I'd be shocked to hear who your answer is. I mean, LSU and Georgia are right there, but I mean, that's
Oklahoma close.
That's how you get the 4- and 5-star kids. You get them in on a plan that they're going to get in and get out and get to the NFL.
I think Mario Cristobal at Oregon's very close to being in some list doing that.
What he's done well is he gets a guy like Kayvon Thibodeau, who's only a sophomore, and will continue to develop as a difference maker for them. They brought in a freshman linebacker this year that you should get to know. His name's Justin Flo. I think he'll be All-American potential sooner rather than later, and plays with the nastiness reserved for guys like Ray Lewis, and I don't say that lightly. I think Oregon's that team. We did our list of that annual list, and I tell you guys all the time, only 5 teams can win the national title. Well, the kind of group of schools that are knocking on the door trying to get in that group, I'd put Oregon at the top of that list.
I would too. I would have them as kind of the next grouping that's waiting either for someone to slip or them to kick the door in and become one of those teams. I said earlier in the week that I thought it might be 25 to 40 players under a potential college football spring plan that would have the ability to pass on it. No, thank you. Don't need the knee shot anymore. Don't need another hit to the shoulder. Don't want to take any chances. Life-changing, generational, life-changing money is getting ready to occur for me. Is that about the right number? Too high or too low? 25 to 40?
I'd say 50, and then 50 is that top 50 picks in the draft. And then you wonder about the 50 or so kids that think they're top 50 in the draft.
Right.
So I would extend that to, you'd be dealing with about 100 players, and that's going to hit, that debate would hit in Ohio State in an interesting way. It would hit Clemson in an interesting way, especially when they've got 2 of those guys in their backfield, and Trevor Lawrence and Travis Etienne, who made the decision to come back to school, and another guy like Chuba Hubbard, who made a decision to come back to school at Oklahoma State. So I get it, and I like the idea. In a perfect world to me, and what I kind of, I have nothing to back this up, but I think in a perfect world, season starts in October, play 10 games, play all conference games, and, we try to, maybe if it's 8 games, that's fine too, but just play them all in conference, and I think you and I and everybody else can figure out who the 4 best teams are.
We can. Now, do you have any or all or limited or nothing at all with the bowl season?
I mean, that's
or just playoffs.
Question. Well, I mean, there's a lot of revenue in those bowls. Or, somebody suggested to me this week. This is on another radio show. They said, "Well, do the bowls in the spring." That's not the worst idea.
No, it's not.
We're clear of this in the spring, and you can. I'd probably at that point rather watch the Camellia Bowl than I would a spring game where we've all sat in the press box during spring games and you don't know what the format is. You don't know who's playing. You want them to be over, if we're quite honest about it. Unless the only thing spring games, I think the biggest benefit of spring games, because most of them are free, is it does allow some of those families that get priced out of going to a regular season game to have a chance to go and take their kids to the stadium. And I am a proponent of that.
I am too. And it's why I think after his first spring in the spring of 2007, and there were 95,000 or whatever the crowd was in Tuscaloosa for Nick Saban's first spring game, I heard a lot of criticism of it, and what it really was wanting to criticize the Alabama fan that loves it so much. That's really what it was all veiled and scotched in, and maybe they just didn't want to crack on them, but they were going, who would go to a spring football game? Well, there are a lot of dads that come fall, they can't take a child, a son or a daughter at the tariffs that we charge, at the prices we charge, at the donations you have to give just to get your hands on tickets, and then when you hit town on parking and hot dogs and souvenirs and all that. So when you can go for free in the spring, I thought it was a little short-sighted by a lot of people that criticize that. I'm not that big on spring football. I go. I enjoy it. It's a respite. It is a little bit of a bridge to the next football season. 2 years ago at the Ole Miss spring game, Bill, and I'm going to do it 5:30. I'm going to try to do the impossible. I've got my 10 favorite games I've ever been to in person. And no, the Ole Miss spring game from 2 years ago is not on that list, but it may be on the top 5 of I almost froze to death at a spring game 2 years ago.
Yeah, some of them get hot, and I've been. Some of them get cold. I went to one.
This was cold.
State. Yeah, a couple of them, Michigan State. I went to one a couple of years ago, and it was, it was winter coat, gloves, and all that stuff, and it's just the way it is up there in East Lansing sometimes. So, yeah, I mean that is a rite of passage. That is an option for the Bulls, and I mean, again, I know that these coaches and these administrators and these athletic departments are doing their best to explore every possible alternative. But I think the thing that hits me most is something that you said earlier in this interview, is that I don't know if I feel any different about the season that I did in April. And we're at a critical couple weeks here where we need to see some of these numbers go down to have a chance.
Bill, I hope it ends up being the worst prediction I've ever made, and that would be saying something. That may be harder than doing this top 10 college football games I've ever attended favorite list, because in 2012, under John L. Smith, I had Arkansas in the national championship game, as did Ralph Russo. Ralph Russo had them winning it that year, so I had a little strength, a little more company in the misery that I was in. But I've had some bad picks through the year. But on Sunday afternoon, March 15th, I texted our friend Richard Cross, and this was the text. And I told him, I said, I hope I'm horribly wrong. But the text was, I'm calling it now, no college football in the fall. I could just see this trajectory, this track, this negativity that we were on, and I haven't seen much to derail it. He will text me often on a scale of 1 to 10. It's a 9 that we're having on time, normal, just like we're used to college football season, and I'll send him back 1, and that's where I've been, Bill.
Well, I don't think it's going to be normal regardless, whether it's how many fans are in the stands, what tailgating looks like, what the sports bars around the campuses look like. Like I said, the ruling they just made in Columbus is if you go out to a public restaurant, you have to have your face covering on, at the exception of eating. We've been, and my family and I, we've been pretty in the middle of everything. Like, we're not one. That's just how I am as a person anyway.
Me too.
And because the world is short of moderates, and the world could use a few more of us. We've practiced social distancing. We've been close. We've been out to a couple restaurants, and we followed all the protocols. But, the big thing is safety with my kids. Even
Sure.
a trip to the veterinarian is more interesting than it should be.
I hadn't thought about it like that, but I'm sure that it is. We're visiting with Bill Bender from the Sporting News, talking college football and what we have talked most of this calendar year of 2020, the great virus of 2020. We're supposed to be 58 days out before the scheduled start of college football. The governor of South Carolina, he spoke today very negatively. Keith Carter, in congressional testimony yesterday. I assume Keith was under oath, but I know he's a good man and a man of his word. He's less optimistic today than on June 1st. Who do you see as the leaders of college football right now? Do you see a leadership void, or you think they're all just kind of biding their time before a unified statement?
I think they are. I think obviously the conference commissioners have to be in touch, and that's why I'm saying if you do a season, it's almost best to keep it within your own conference. So, if Greg Sankey can oversee a 9-game SEC season and just ditch the non-con games, I think we're good. I think in the Big Ten would agree to that, and some others, and you could get that to happen. I mean, that just takes away the other wrinkle of, this conference does COVID restrictions differently than this one, and then you can have them somewhat unified for the playoff, and those are things that all work. But again, one of the other hurdles of this, and it's just a simple one, schools are handling their testing protocols differently. There's no universal way of doing it, and that is college football in a nutshell in a lot of ways. But when it comes to this testing, it's a little bit antsy when some schools aren't going to disclose guys and others will, and I think that's another trouble spot. So, and my most basic one of all, Brad, is this, and I ask it on every radio station I've been on. I ask them a simple question: how do you social distance tackling? I don't know how that can be done.
Impossible. Although I've seen some really bad defenses under Dave Womack that it appeared that they were trying to do that, but no, it's the sport that you cannot social distance. The locker room, the sidelines. All right, so with that, let's try to be positive in these last few minutes. Bill Bender, you can follow Bill on Twitter at BillBender92, and that's a tribute to the great Memphis showboat Reggie White. Bill's a gigantic Packers fan. Let's try to be positive wrapping up. Let's say we have the 8-9 conference only in all the conferences. Would it be travel, number of players restricted for travel? Instead of taking 70, would you take 50? At home games where you see 120 on a sideline, would only 60 or 70 be allowed? The press box, would there be a age limit? Anybody 55 and up, we're scared for your health risk, you're not allowed. What do you think on those things?
Well, in a perfect world, like I said, October start, 50% stadiums, limited media access, unfortunately. We're probably going to have to deal with Zoom calls this year. I don't know that there'll be post-game, pre-game, press conferences, any of those type deals during the week even. Zoom's going to be very popular for the foreseeable future. And then you go from there, see if they can play. And as for the COVID numbers, that's the tough part. I mean, because I've been telling people, what if you're what's the line? What's the morality line that you have as a person where,
Sure.
if you hear a story that Alabama's quarterback room has COVID? Where do you go from there?
Yeah.
With the asymptomatic guys, a word I've had to learn how to say over and over again. So I think all of those questions need answered, and if they do safely, then we'll have a shot.
Asymptomatic was my first half of 2020 word of the year. It won out over normalcy.
That pandemic is probably, unfortunately, the word of the year, unfortunately, for all of us.
There have been a lot of them. Bill Bender, my best to you and your family. I hope baseball in Ohio gets going with Cincinnati and with Cleveland. I got to see a pitch to believe it. I'm there on a lot of things, and I hope we have a college football season. And I know we'll be visiting with you a bunch before then if we do. And at the time of the announcement, there's not. We'll be visiting with you and probably saying goodbye on these airwaves. But thank you very much for your time, Bill Bender. I appreciate you, and have a good Independence Day.
Hey, you too. Happy 4th of July to you and everybody else in Memphis. Thank you so much, Brett.
You got it. Bill Bender from the Sporting News with us on Thursdays during college football at 3:30, and he was with us today. And that's the facts, Jack. That's where we are in college football. And when you see these budget cuts and you see these restrictions, the idea of no college football, even a spring plan, it will be catastrophic financially for towns and for universities and for athletics department. If Oklahoma's having to cut $13.7 million, how would you like to be Bowling Green? How would you like to be Illinois? How would you like to be a lot of places if OU's having to cut $13.7 million? When we come back, we round out this hour. You're listening to Sports Time on Sports 56.
Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy get you through the midday with Sports 56 Middays. Delivered by FedEx. Weekdays from 10 till 1 on Sports 56, 96.1 and 87.7.
Hey folks, I'm Jarrett Carter. My family recently purchased East Memphis Ace Hardware at Quince and White Station, and we're excited to offer the best selection of Big Green Egg and Traeger grills. And then don't forget about our Benjamin Moore Paint Studio and the Garden Center for flowers. Save 60% with our new Duracell key fob replacement program. We have a master locksmith service as well as glass cutting and screen repair. The East Memphis Ace Hardware, located at Quince and White Station behind Three Little Pigs.
If you're going on vacation, making a college campus visit, or if business takes you out of town, there's just no better place to board your dog than Barks and Recreation, 965 Ruddock Cove between Bud Davis Cadillac and the Blue Plate Cafe in East Memphis. Boarding, daycare, grooming, we have the best of everything at Barks. Indoor-outdoor kennels so your family member can go in and out as they please. Indoor and outdoor play areas. 4 walks a day. Group play and individual attention from the best staff in the Mid-South, which includes an overnight staff to ensure the safety and comfort of your pet 24 hours a day. All reasons to choose Barks and Recreation above all other boarding and daycare facilities. BarksDaycare.com or 509-0909. Check us out and make your reservations now at BarksDaycare.com. If your dog could speak, he'd say Barks.
Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea knows some days can get a little twisted. How twisted?
Please tell him thank you. But I do not want to wrestle his bear.
That twisted.
Twisted Tea. Keep it twisted!
Please drink responsibly.
Now, back to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Lexus of Memphis. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brett Norsworthy.
We'll be back soon. No Drew today. We hope we have Drew back tomorrow, maybe on Monday. Unforeseen circumstance came up. He's fine, but we look forward to having him back soon. Carl Morris producing. Boy, the golf picks yesterday for us. And on our picks, our shock pick wins double. And that's the 2 leaders. 2 of the 4 picks are shock picks. Ted Butler coming in off the top rope, picking for Dave Woloshin while he's away with Scott Stallings, the Tennessee Tech product. 7 under 65 for Scott Stallings. That's tied with old Brett's pick, Doc Redman, former U.S. amateur champ from Clemson. He posted an early 7 under. I think he birdied 4 or 5 of his last holes, and he teed off really early, so you know it'll be late tomorrow. Bryson DeChambeau, 5 under. That was Drew's pick, and he's playing well through 14 and knocking it just out of sight. If there was a player of the year since the restart, it may be Bryson DeChambeau, and he hadn't won yet, but he's played well, and you know he's knocking on the door. Terrell Hatton, 4 under 68. Webb Simpson, 4 under 68. He had to miss last week after winning at Harbor Town. He had to miss last week over the caddy that tested positive, and to be extremely cautious, he sat out last week. Still hot from winning in Harbor Town. He was 4 under. JT Poston, Drew's shock pick that we've all done pretty well with so far this year. He's 4 under through 16. My lock, Victor Hovland, speaking of former U.S. Am winners, the Norwegian Victor Hovland played college golf at Oklahoma State, 3 under through 16. He got off to a pretty rough start. They're blitzing the Detroit Golf Club in downtown Detroit, as they have all these courses so far with the restart. They are that good. They are. But I like Dave's friend's premise. A friend of Dave threw this out to him that he thought a lot of very cozy setups, tees, pins, pin placement, etc. They're that good. They can blitz anything. They can make it. They could, well, look, a few years ago, 21 under won at Augusta National at the Masters. They make any place look easy. That all of the rest of the world, the other 99.8% of us, that it makes look so very difficult. But I think some of it has been they want birdies and they want people to watch. They want people to have fun. I don't mind that. I don't mind a birdie binge tournament whatsoever. I know one thing I really love, don't mind it at all, and can't wait to my next visit, and that's at the commissary, either the new Collierville commissary at Houston Levee and Poplar, or the original in Germantown. Memphis-style barbecue and ribs, delicious, that screams Memphis-style great food. That means slow. Begin your barbecue feast with some great appetizers. You need to go slow while you're in there and enjoy it all, like the cheese plate or the tamales or the barbecue nachos. The smoked chicken wings are fantastic. Any of that could be your entree if you want it to be, but great appetizers. Then dig in to the ribs or the barbecue shoulder, get it chopped or pulled on a sandwich, a big sandwich, or you can get it on the side on a plate. Comes with beans, slaw, deviled eggs, and bread as well. You can even order it by the pound, or a 6-pack or an 8-pack or a 12-pack. We often give away 6-packs of barbecue away on this show to the Collierville commissary at Houston Levee and Poplar, or the original in Germantown. And the salads, the Boss Man salad, it's huge. You can make at least 2 meals out of it. The chicken plate or the barbecue shrimp, the wonderful hot tamales dressed with chili cheese and fresh onions, and wrap it all up with the best desserts anywhere in town, including the best lemon icebox pie I've ever had anywhere. Watkins Cafeteria in Far City, the only thing that was close to it when I was growing up to the commissary. And I've told Walker Taylor that, and his response was, never heard of the place. But it was great. Terrific banana pudding as well. 901-754-5540. Online at commissarybarbecue.com in Collierville and Germantown. And everyone there wishes you a happy 4th of July and a happy, safe Independence Day. Our friend Walker Taylor, he has done it the right way, and they do it the right way now. Contactless, everything very safe, everything very sanitized. They always were neat freaks, but they've taken it to the next level now with being really careful in these times for you, the valuable customer. We appreciate Walker so much. The headlines today, one of the biggest one, the NBA positives now total at 25, 9 more NBA players testing positive. We will talk with Keith Smith from Yahoo Sports to start the next hour about the NBA restart plan. And don't we all, with every passing day, the highs and lows of this. I'm not complaining, and I'm not saying anything that I know that all of us are going through, whether it's sports or business or family or health. The roller coaster that every day brings. It really makes you want to get out early in the morning with some fresh air, even in the steam box this morning. Take that walk, clear your mind, and try to have a good, calm resolution about things, because you can be besieged by all this news. DeMar DeRozan, he said today the bubble rules down in Orlando at the Orlando restart, very, very frustrating and almost overwhelming. And we saw that manifesto that they sent out for the teams to comply with, and I bet it is. I bet it is overwhelming for them. And they're like Bill Bender in Central Ohio or anyone. They don't want to get back around their children and older parents, or they get ill. That's the thing that we're all really worried about going forward. Zion Williamson says he's ready to go down there. We will talk at 5 o'clock with Mike Detillier from WWL in New Orleans about the Pels restart plans. I love Mike Detillier, but we're not pulling for the Pelicans in the restart. It would be fun. What if in this crazy sports year we pull off Orlando? The Grizzlies easily capture, maintain, take that 8th spot. No drama. Not in all the crazy playoff scenarios that the league kind of forced to make Zion stay in the middle of it. They're the 8. And I don't want anything ill will for it to be this case, but just push the Lakers. Win two out of that series, really challenge them. How much fun would that be? And then, talking about the sports story of the second half of the year, if the headline read, Grizzlies up in Lakers in the 1 versus 8, I don't think that's going to happen. But what if they did? That would make everything going on in Orlando a heck of a lot more interesting and entertaining.
I believe Memphis would actually open all the way back up.
You do, Carl? That all the bars and taverns and saloons are back open?
Open back up.
So you think that's what we need for the reopen? That might be a bad thing, Carl.
It'll be a bad thing, but we'll be so happy that it's going on that the Grizzlies done went that far, so they have no choice but to, hey, we're opening everything up.
All right, Carl, you're a big Lakers fan, right? That's your team from all through the years. Who you for in that series, Lakers or Grizzlies?
That's easy. I'm going with the Lakers. I love the Lakers. I love the Grizzlies. I love the new Grizzlies. I love the past Grizzlies, but I have to stick. I'm loyal to my team. The Grizzlies are by far my second favorite team now, though.
Understood, and I think the Lakers are still that real pull team for people that really can't divorce from them. There's some couple. There are a couple more, Boston and a few others. But I think when LeBron's done, it'll finally be people here not as attracted to the Lakers and maybe even to other teams, not as star-driven as it has been for so much of this time. Hour 1 in the books. We start hour number 2 with Keith Smith from Yahoo Sports on the NBA restart in Orlando. That's next on Sportstime.
Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea knows some days can get a little twisted. How twisted?
Please tell him thank you. But I do not want to wrestle his bear.
That twisted.
Twisted Tea. Keep it twisted!
Please drink responsibly.
If you want to make money in sales, Flynn Broadcasting wants you. If you can sell, Flynn Broadcasting has a great career waiting for you. If you can sell, we have great benefits, salary, commission, sales leads, and a great place to work. If you can sell, let us know today. Send your resume to jobs@flynn.com. Can everyone sell? No. But if you can, Flynn Broadcasting wants you. Apply today at jobs@flynn.com. Start your great career today at jobs@flynn.com. Flynn Broadcasting wants you.
Napa know-how. Get all the quality parts you need at your locally owned Napa. Because right now, when you order from Napa online, you can pick up curbside at your local store in just 30 minutes. Or get your order delivered direct to your door with free one-day shipping on over 160,000 quality parts when you spend $50 or more. Quality parts delivered quickly and safely. That's Napa know-how.
Napa know-how.
At participating stores, standard ground shipping and exclusions apply.
Listen Sundays at 11 a.m. to join Idlewild Presbyterian Church for worship. Idlewild is a PCUSA church located in Midtown Memphis.
We are are Sports 56 WHBQ Memphis, WIVG-FM Tunica Memphis, and WPG-FLP Memphis. Flynn Broadcasting Stations. Now, more of Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brett Norsworthy.
Not just me today. Dave will be back in, not this Monday, but the following Monday after some time away. Drew, I think, might be back tomorrow or Monday. Carl Morris producing. And we will talk the NBA restart plan. We just touched on all the pitfalls and everything everyone's trying to go through in business and in life, whatever business it is, whatever walk of life it is, to try to work through this pandemic sports with the challenge of all time. If Adam Silver hands that Larry O'Brien trophy over to someone in October for the end of the NBA Finals, it will be the symbolic handing over of Good Riddance 2020 for him and for many others. And we talked on the last day of the new year, Tuesday, June 30th. We talked about this year when we celebrate New Year's Eve. Don't know if we're going to have the big gatherings. Don't know if it'll be in Times Square. Probably won't be. Wasn't going to be for me regardless. You could make me go there. But I don't know if we'll have celebrations like that. I ain't drank a drop in 27 years, and I'm not going to this year. But I may get me some non-alcoholic sparkling champagne and spray around to say, Good Riddance 2020, you know what, and then start trying to go forward in 2021. Talking NBA with us, and we have loved it during the restart plans. Keith Smith from Yahoo Sports on the NBA. He is in Orlando. He once worked at Walt Disney World. He knows that campus. He knows that footprint. He knows that physical plant. He knows that beat of Orlando about as well as anyone. He joins us now to talk the restart. And Keith, I follow you on Twitter, and it's terrific. And I just talked about the roller coaster we're all on. I can tell by talking to you when I read your tweets. I can feel some days, heck yeah, 100%. They're going to start. They're going to finish. There will be a champion. This will go flawlessly. And then there are other days I can feel the trepidation. Good afternoon, Keith.
Hey, good afternoon. Thanks for having me back. And yeah, you're spot on. It's a roller coaster. You feel good about some things, and for me, selfishly, it's how I make a living. So I'm excited to see the league come back. I also love the NBA, so I'm excited from that standpoint. But then I start to feel a little bit bad about being excited because there's so much going on, and these guys are really putting themselves at risk health-wise, and they're not going to see their families for a long time. And you really start to question at some point, is this going to be safe enough? I know they continue to say it can be, but as safe as it can be, is that safe enough? And that's a question I don't know has been properly answered for everybody in a way that everyone feels fully comfortable just yet.
Keith, we talked about a few days ago on the air sometime this week, this roller coaster we're on, this is symbolic of it. And I don't really care what somebody thinks if they see me with my mask on when I go out. If I'm going to be around one other person, I have had it on. I didn't in the beginning. I would not wear it to the place where I was going to eat because I was outside going in, and then I was eating. I couldn't do it with a mask on. I was feeling my fat face, and so I didn't see any need to. But I'm now wearing it in and wearing it in the respite before the food is on the table, and then immediately after it has been cleared, I either leave or put the mask back on. But we said if you have a mask on, it feels like people are looking at you like, you big chicken, why do you got a mask on? And if you don't have one on, you heartless SOB, why don't you have one on?
Yeah, there's definitely some truth to that. It's the same way down here. Now, I will say Orange County, where I live, which is one of the counties that Walt Disney World resides in, the property's so big it spills over into Osceola County as well. But here in Orange County, we're back under a mask order by our mayor of the county, and that's anytime you're out and about, you got to wear one. And for me, what it says to me when you're putting it on is it's not that you're really thinking necessarily just about yourself, but you're thinking about everybody. And what's funny is we're starting to hear down here in Florida, much I think the same way you are, football is king. And everybody is starting to get all excited because it's, summertime now, and that means football's right around the corner. And everybody's kind of go-to that wants people to wear the masks and get back to normal is, if you want to see football this year, wear your mask. And that seems to be winning a few people over. And for me, I don't care what gets them to wear their masks and get us all back on track with this, but if that's what it takes, then that's what it takes.
I agree with you, and I'm doing it now because it is mandated by law, and I don't think of myself as a sheep. I don't think of myself as a lemming. I don't think of myself as a stooge following what the big bad bureaucracy tells me. I'm trying to adhere to the laws and to the suggestions of what I think are people that know better than I do have this question about a mask, and I don't know that you have the answer, but we have seen, and you travel a lot, and you're in airports and things like that through the years, and I've got a good friend of mine, a renowned attorney here in Memphis, that he, for years, because of a medical condition, he has to go for treatments, and when he comes back for that, I'm talking 4 and 5 years ago, I'd go to lunch with him. He would have a mask on. He was no handshaking then, very hand sanitizer 5 years ago. And often, in airports, we will see someone, obviously you can look at them and tell that they have had a very serious medical challenge, and you would see them with a mask on. So why is the dictate now it's for you to wear one to not harm the other, when I've seen medical patients through the years wearing one? They weren't giving us anything.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know the science behind it. All I know is I read, the literature that's come out that basically says that if I wear one, this is what it prevents. This is the percentage chance of getting somebody sick.
Amen.
If you wear one, but I don't, this is what the percentage chance is. If we both wear one, I know it's really, really low. And that's
right.
That's all that really matters to me, So yeah, I'm fully in that group of, it's hot here. We're now, in Central Florida. Every day is in the mid to high 90s, very humid, and it's tough. And I don't like wearing mine either. It's especially if I go a couple days without shaving, it's all
fogs my
crappy.
glasses up.
Fogs my glasses up. It's tough to, it can be. It's not. I don't want to say it's hard to breathe, but it's hot and sweaty and all those things. But you know what I do? I wear it because that's what we're supposed to do, and that's it. So,
I do too.
Yeah, I don't know enough about the science behind it. All I know is the smart people are telling me to wear one, so I'm wearing one.
Me too, Keith. Just like when I walk up to a business, I wouldn't dare enter my mind to ever do any differently. But if I were prone to, if it says no shirt, no shoes, no service, I have on a shirt and I have on shoes because I want service. Keith Smith joining us to talk NBA. Let's get into basketball talk. And for a minute, act like the pandemic never happened. Teams are reporting. Toronto, I applaud them with the good plan to get to Orlando, to get out of Canada, and maybe try and Nick Nurse go for the back-to-back for Toronto.
Yeah, they're actually not here in Orlando just yet. They're still down in Naples, Florida, which is in Southwest Florida. It's a couple hours away, but that was where they went down to Florida Gulf Coast University. If you remember a few years back,
Dunk City
NCAA tournament at Dunk City. That's it. That's
with Andy Enfield.
They're practicing.
Yeah,
that's it. Yep. So that's where they're running their voluntary and now mandatory practices out of there. They'll come up to Disney next week when everybody else does. It looks like most teams will arrive. They're going to be staggered arrivals between the 7th, 8th, and 9th, and that's when they'll get here. And then everybody is going to take off and do their training camps at Walt Disney World. Some pictures. The NBA released some pictures of teams that have sent their floors down, which are being set up in the convention centers as practice courts and those kind of things. So you've got things are really moving in a direction here. But yeah, the Raptors they're going to be a tough out when it comes down to this. They've been one of my favorite stories all season long because the way they have gone and defended that championship, when it would have been very easy to say, all right, we got one, Kawhi left, Danny Green left, let's trade Kyle Lowry and Marc Gasol and Serge Ibaka, and we'll move on and we'll really start rebuilding around Pascal Siakam. Instead, they said, no, we've still got some good players here. We think we can be, a pretty good team. And so far, they've been proven right.
Well, I love Marc Gasol, and I love that he got his title last year after the trade, and it was great for both parties. It was great for Memphis. It was great for Mark, and I've enjoyed the Toronto story because, Keith, I think you could go to a lot of bars in a lot of NBA cities with NBA games on and win a sports trivia pursuit beer just with this question. Name the head coach of the NBA world champion.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And that's a little sad because Nick Nurse is absolutely fantastic. He is, he is one of the coaches that most NBA coaches are real creatures of habit in the regular season. And they kind of install an offensive and defensive system, and they spend the time trying to perfect that, get guys to understand that. Nick Nurse is one of the few that in the regular season game plans from opponent to opponent. Now, they all do that to some level. It'll be more on the defensive side of, all right, well, we got to focus on this guy here, this guy here. But Nick Nurse will really throw a lot of different wrinkles at teams. Teams talk about how he gets so much out of his guys because you never really know what to do. And that team was banged up all season long. They played very few games with their full roster together, and he's just an absolutely fantastic coach who deserves all the credit that he gets, from those who really know the league.
Today you wrote about and you tweeted about the topic of the improvement so many players make over that rookie year to the next year. We're really having a de facto first year to now. That impacts a player like Ja Morant, even a second-year player like Jaren Jackson, a player like Zion Williamson, hale and hearty, coming back from the restart. We could see some younger players really cut loose in Orlando.
Yeah, we absolutely could, especially those guys that are still technically in the middle of their rookie season, like Ja Morant, Zion Williamson. I think the pictures that were tweeted out about Zion Williamson today, I mean, he looks like he's ready to go, and that's pretty impressive. And then Ja Morant, I know in his media availability, he spoke about feeling as good as he's felt physically, and we forget it was about a year ago he was having a knee cleanup done, and these guys, a lot of folks don't realize when they enter the NBA, they go right from their college or international season in the draft workout. Then from there into summer league. From summer league, they take a very short break. It's only about a month or so, and then right into training camp. And there's very little time for them to work on their individual games and then to work on their bodies. And that's why we see a lot of these guys come back as sophomores, and we're like, wow, he looks different, he looks better. And we're starting to see that with a lot of these guys now because they've essentially had basically what's been an off season to really work on their conditioning in their body, and a lot of these guys worked on their games from what we're hearing about. So yeah, I think you're going to see some of these young fellas come in and really do some stuff when the season gets restarted in about a month.
I like you. We'll take it about any way we can get it. I'm not that concerned with how the games look and feel. I just want to see ball, want to see competition, want to see the Grizzlies back. But are you a little bit concerned that some teams may be really putting the postage stamp on it and playing out the string when they get to Orlando, just get the games over and get me out of this bubble?
Yeah, I think we might have a couple. I think if the Washington Wizards really do show up and Bradley Beal decides he doesn't want to play. Now, most people expect that he is going to play, but for the Wizards, if they lose their first couple games, they have no chance of getting into the playoffs unless the Nets or Magic lose out. So really what you're looking at there is, well, that's really it. We're kind of done. We can't make up the ground we need to make up. But as I've talked to coaches around the league, one of the things that they continue to emphasize is that's not really any different than those couple weeks in April before the playoffs start. That's about what it is. It's about 8 games
left.
Right. And what they do is that's when, guys have back spasms or they show up and they're not feeling so great. So, we're going to sit them out and we're going to focus on the young guys and those kind of things. Now, I don't know if you've seen it because it broke probably while you've been on air, but they announced today, or reports are, that they're looking at doing a second bubble in Chicago with the teams that weren't invited. That one I really struggle to see the motivation for some of the teams to go there and do much of anything, especially a team like the Golden State Warriors, because there's just not a lot of a point to them going there and doing that. They'd get a lot more out of just doing their workouts with themselves as a team and, handling things themselves. So I'm curious to see what the plans are for that.
Would those games count, or are they just workout games?
No, just workout games, just, kind of glorified scrimmages. there's a lot of things up
Bluff
in the
City
air. For
Classic.
example, that's it. There's a lot of teams like the New York Knicks have a ton of pending free agents. So why would, if I'm a free agent, why would I want to go play in these completely meaningless games and then, risk getting injured before I'm going to be a free agent? So there's a lot of details that would need to be worked out. That sounds like earliest that would be in September. And I know the NBA has tried to, they don't want teams like the Hawks and the Warriors and the Knicks to go, close to a year before they play, 9 months before they play, meaningful basketball again. So they're trying to figure out a way to do something for them, but I just don't know that this is the way.
Keith Smith, our guest, he covers the NBA for Yahoo. He covered the Boston Celtics for years. You can follow him on Twitter. I highly suggest you do so if you are an NBA fan, because the content just on Twitter, never mind the great writing, is really out there. At Keith Smith, NBA. In the West, it's the Lakers or Clippers. I think they're on a collision course. I love Denver. I did during the regular season. I love the job that Coach Malone has done there. It might not be this year. It may not be next year, but they're building something, and they do have one of the superstars of the game.
Yeah, Nikola Jokic is absolutely fantastic, and they've got good pieces that fit around him, and they've had a really successful season with Jamal Murray hasn't stepped forward maybe quite the way they hoped for. Gary Harris has really had a tough season there. Will Barton's probably been the second best player on the roster this year next to Jokic. So I think, they're definitely doing some things, and, you hope Nikola Jokic is able to be healthy enough to play. He's still not even back with the Nuggets yet after testing positive for coronavirus while he was back in his home country. So hopefully he can get back and be able to play. But, they're probably a team that's, a year or two out with this. Maybe, as the Lakers maybe start to age out, the Clippers, they're kind of built for the short term. But the Nuggets are built a little more long term behind Jokic and Murray. So hopefully, they're here to stay.
Keith, it's one of the aggravating things through the years about the Grizzlies. I thought the Grizzlies were really close in 2011, and one of these days maybe the full story would be that probably was the year, if they were ever going to win it as the 8 after the upset of San Antonio. If they could have completed the series over Oklahoma City, then got Dallas, and they matched up well with Dallas. They had matched up well just in the 2 games that year with Miami that was still figuring out things in the early part of the LeBron years. But the aggravating part is kind of the caste system of the NBA. You mentioned maybe 2 or 3 years for Denver. You can bet a lot of times on in that 2 or 3 years thing and lose.
Yeah, absolutely, you can. And, it's hard to, in the NBA, build for a long window. Everybody kind of thinks about the Warriors. And the Warriors, they kind of kicked that window wide open. And even them, it came crashing down on them. But that was a very unique circumstance. You had, 2 or 3 in Stephen Curry, Draymond Green, and Klay Thompson, 3 guys that they drafted and developed themselves. Then because of the way the salary cap spiked, because Steph Curry was on such an under-market deal, they were able to add Kevin Durant. That kept it open a little while longer. But ultimately, these teams are really built for 3-4 year windows at most. And if you don't get it done in that window, the way the NBA works is both on the players and the front office side is, all right, it's time to change. If I'm a player, that's 4 or 5 years into my career, I got to move. I got to go do something else. If you're the front office, all right, we gave it a good run, time to rebuild, move those guys on for picks and those kind of things. So windows are just really, really short in the NBA.
They are, and a lot of times when you think you're building for the future, that prize player can get plucked from another team in free agency. We saw that. This is a big if question. If Draymond Green had not, and his workout at FedEx Forum for the Grizzlies is in Grizzlies workout lore. It was one of the more impressive things a lot of people say they had ever seen, and just tremendous workout and how good he could be. But let's say he ends up in, you name the place, and he's not with that cast of characters and that cast of stars in Oakland with Golden State. Would he still be the star that he is? Would it have manifested just wherever he ended up?
That's a great question. I would say, I want to say yes, because I think he has that mindset. There's an equally famous story about when he worked out for the Warriors. He tanked a drill, and they said, don't worry about it. It's fine. We're moving on to the next one. And he insisted that they let him go again through the drill, and he knocked it out of the park the second time. And for the Warriors, they say, that's when we knew we got to get this guy. This guy is not going to take no for an answer. He's so self-motivated. He's so driven. He's such a unique player because of his size, his ability to do a lot of different things as far as being a defender and then a ball handler and a playmaker and, occasional shooter and scorer and those kind of things. And I do think, though, I think that there is, a sense of when you're with great players, they lift guys up. And we've seen that throughout the history of the NBA. So I think, for him, there was probably some level of, I can't let these guys down. These guys are already pretty good. And if I want to be, there with them as they move forward, I got to help push this thing up as far as it can go. So I think there is definitely that factor to it as well.
Keith, if we may, would love to catch up latter part of next week. I know it's getting busier and busier because really now counting down to the 30th, 31st, 30th opening night for the NBA?
30th, yeah.
Clippers.
4 weeks from tomorrow, I believe. Or, right? 4 weeks from today? I don't know. We're getting close.
4 weeks from today. And I think that is really the makeup game. Remember, that was the game canceled through the sadness and despair in L.A. after the loss of Kobe. Remember, that was a game that was scratched. Yep. And that's a great way for the league to start back, and that probably may be the way it ends in the West between Clips and Lakers. But latter part of next week, if we may, I'd love to catch back up. In the meantime, you and yours have a great 4th, and stay safe. Keep that mask on. It makes sense.
Yeah, will do. I appreciate that. Y'all stay safe. You know.
Thank you very much. Keith Smith covering the NBA, and you can follow him at Twitter at Keith Smith NBA, and he is in Orlando, and that is where a lot of the action is going to be. As he said, breaking now, the story of action in a second bubble in Chicago for the 8 teams that were not invited to play in Florida. Whoo! You will want to go watch basketball if you want to go watch those teams. It will enable them to participate.
I most definitely would tune in just because I miss it so much.
At this point, Carl, I think I'd watch it. Over the Bundesliga? Yeah, I think I would. I think if you gave me the Chicago bubble, and for a lot of people, if you can bet on it, I guarantee you they would, but games aren't going to count, and it's going to be for those teams to participate in a mini training camp to not fall even further behind. It makes sense for the league in the name of fairness. It's no need for them to be kind of this penalized, and it'll be a mini training camp and subsequent games against other clubs with a target date of September. Sources told ESPN on Thursday. Jackie McMullen, the author of the story at ESPN.com that I'm reading from, want to give her credit. The details still being hammered out. Teams continue to push for an alternative plan that would enable them to hold mini camps within their local markets and to explore the idea of establishing regional sites where team could scrimmage. Makes sense from the league perspective. I don't blame them, but most of the basketball eyes will be on Orlando and to see if indeed it will be Clippers or Lakers coming out of the West there, and who will out of the East. Keith Smith, that we just visited with, he covered the Celtics for a long time. I think they will be formidable out of the East. A lot of people I have mentioned, and many other NBA people that we've had on speculating about who will have real prowess in Orlando, talked about Philadelphia. I don't know if it would be very fair to fire a coach after this and in this, but Brett Brown at Philadelphia could be coaching for his career there. If his team, if they became sour on him, if the locker room turned him off, he would be good as gone out of Orlando. But if they got hot, and with the players they have, the talent that they have, most particularly Joel Embiid, they could be a team to be reckoned with there. We talked about Toronto going for the repeat. They waited forever to win it with Kawhi. He's out of town. And just to be mentioned that they might be going for a repeat even in this odd year that we have had. Also today, the story that is out there about baseball and summer camp, spring training too. I like the idea of summer camp. I went to baseball summer camp. I love going to baseball summer camp. Went to the Show Me Baseball camp in Branson, Missouri way back when. I think I even flew into Springfield one time, first time on an airplane. It was great. Got picked up by an old guy that didn't drive over 30 miles per hour from the airport to the camp out on Table Rock Lake. And they're talking about having summer baseball camp, and with that starting tomorrow on the MLB network, they're going to go wall to wall tomorrow. Look, they need programming. They're ready to show anything other than replay games. They're going wall to wall tomorrow and going around to every team, all 30 places, and covering summer baseball camp. I'll watch because I'm a baseball nut and a baseball fan, and at a beat turning on COVID coverage and DC coverage in the morning. So I'll watch Harold Reynolds and the baseball MLB network crew tomorrow on it. Hope Mark DeRosa's on it. Love always hearing from him. It's probably been a long time since those big leaguers went to summer baseball camp or spring training too, as some are calling it. But MLB network, just give them anything to cover. Bryson DeChambeau, he is now 6 under, only a shot out of the lead, and it felt like he was knocking on the door, and Drew Barrett rightly with the first pick this week. He picked him. He's done everything but win since the restart, with just mashing the ball around everywhere he has played, and now 1 shot back on the first day of the Rocket Mortgage Classic in Detroit. No Tiger here this week. There was no chance he was ever playing with anything associated with Rocket Mortgage. I don't know if people remember the gigantic falling out that he had with them as his sponsor of his event when it was at Congressional in D.C. He was never playing in it. He's not playing next week. Everybody has circled the Memorial, Jack Nicklaus's tournament, as the first tournament back for him. And then after that, the week after that is Minneapolis. He's not playing there. And then Memphis, and then the PGA. So maybe we would get him here, and that means he would be playing back-to-back weeks at the WGC FESJI, and then on the next week to the PGA Championship at Harding Park in San Francisco. The first major of the year in August. The PGA, they tried to get out of that August date, and it just pulled them right back in after 1 year. We went to the PGA 2 years ago in 2018 at Belle Reve in St. Louis, and that was supposed to be goodbye to the PGA being in the month of August. They had it last year in May, but because of everything that has occurred this year, 2020, man, that's the bumper sticker. It's back in August. When we come back, we will visit with Nate Gabler from Sports Illustrated. He's on the beat at Ole Miss. That's next on Sportstime.
Broadcasting from the Family Leisure Studio, we are Sports 56, 96.1, and 87.7.
Hey, clones, you've heard me talk about Walmart delivery before, but now Walmart has the fastest delivery service yet. Walmart Express Delivery. Get groceries and more delivered from their door to yours with no contact delivery in 2 hours or less. Zero markups. Same low price as in-store. Don't let work, kids, an at-home workout, or whatever else life throws at you right now get in the way of getting what you need when you need it. Try Walmart Express Delivery today. Restrictions and fees do apply.
Family Leisure's here to make staying at home more enjoyable for you and your family this summer. Complete pool packages starting at $15.99. 24-foot pools only $19.99. 4-person spas starting at $19.99. Swim spas starting at under $10,000. We are offering contactless purchasing, deliveries, and curbside pickup. Give us a call to schedule an appointment or to place an order. Stay safe with Family Leisure.
Frontier Western Store is open and ready to serve you for all your needs in boots, apparel, pet food, and more. Frontier is proud to be a local leader here in the Mid-South when it comes to boots. Stop by the store today for an incredible selection of name brand work and dress boots. Come browse aisles and aisles of top quality boots at everyday low prices in our world famous boot showroom. Dan Post, Rocky, Durango, Twisted X, Georgia, Ariat, and many more. There are so many styles, colors, and fits available, you might need a hand picking out your favorites. Luckily, Frontier's knowledgeable sales staff will cheerfully assist you with any questions you have and ensure the proper fit of your new boots. Frontier also has an amazing selection of jeans and shirts by Wrangler, Ariat, and Carhartt, as well as a fully stocked women's boutique department with thousands of tops and dresses at unbelievable prices. New arrivals often. Frontier Western Store, 5880 Gilman Road in Olive Branch, and on the web at frontierwesternstore.com. Family owned and operated since 1967.
It's It's time to tee it up at Edwin Watts Golf Shop's 4th of July sale from July 3rd to July 6th. Get a 50% bonus trade-in towards all inline TaylorMade Cobra and Callaway golf clubs. Restock your wardrobe with 25% off all closeout apparel. And save big on all stand bags, now 15% off. Edwin Watts Golf Shop's 4th of July sale with huge savings in every department. Happening July 3rd through the 6th. Edwin Watts Golf Shops, home of the 90-day 100% satisfaction guarantee. Selection may vary. See store for details.
Now, more of Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brad Norsworthy.
No, Dave, just me solo today. Drew will join us at 5:30. He wants to do his top 10 college football games he's ever attended in person. I want to hear that too. Very different perspective with him being 25 and me being 58. I've got mine. It was hard to assemble this list. I left off some good ones. I should have gone 20 or 30 deep on this. I wouldn't bore you with that. I don't want to threaten you with that. We'll do our top 10 college football games we've ever attended in person at 5:30. Drew will join me for that. Carl Morris producing. We are Sports Time, and you are listening on AM 560, 87.7, and 96.1. And we are very pleased to have with us for the first time covering Ole Miss for Sports Illustrated Ole Miss at SI Rebels, Nate Gabler. He joins us now. You can follow Nate on Twitter at NateGabler. Nate Gabler joins us now, and there's been plenty to cover on the Ole Miss beat, and it was quite historic last week. Nate, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me, guys.
And last week was something, wasn't it? The all the stories and the legislative machinations, and finally it came down, and it was a long time in coming.
Man, historic's one word. That's a good one. I would say it was equally bizarre. I mean, imagine me telling you 1 year ago that Lane Kiffin and Mike Leach would be two guys kind of spearheading a weird Thursday in Jackson.
Okay, Nate, I got to stop you there. We don't allow crazy people on there.
What's going on?
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, no, I mean, it was a weird 24 hours from, I guess, kind of the point when we first got the news trickling down that Kiffin would be heading over, and then find out that Leach and that they're part of just kind of a small crew that are going to be there. And then, I mean, from there, and then you see Kylan Hill's tweet, a Mississippi State running back, who's essentially like, yeah, I'm not playing football if this isn't changed. And I guess kind of over the course of the weekend, you kind of saw some of the power that sports played, even in a weird, like, legislative ordeal. It was one of the weekends you'll always probably remember. It was just bizarre, man.
It was, Nate, and you're right. A year ago, if you'd have laid out that premise to me, first of all, that the Pirate would be swinging his sword in Starkville, and that Lane Kiffin had pulled the caboose into, or the engine into, and the caboose into Oxford, that would have been remote, because a year ago right now, I wouldn't have bet on either place having a coaching change in Joe Moorhead and in Matt Luke, and they both did out of a crazy night on Thanksgiving night, and I was there, and I still can't believe everything I saw that night, Nate.
Yeah, I mean, I guess a year ago today, I would have been very surprised if you told me Moorhead wouldn't still be in Starkville. The Luke stuff kind of never really surprised me. It was kind of just almost felt stale this whole last year in Oxford. Not good, not bad. It felt stale. And when something like that happens and the energy's down and all that, you kind of got to make some sort of a change. So I'm a little less surprised than you. But, yeah, I mean, it's very different in Oxford right now, that's for sure.
And Lane Kiffin and Mike Leach, I don't know either one of them at all. This is probably the longest I've gone without meeting a new coach at Ole Miss, but because of all this with the virus, I have not, with no spring and no access really to him. I did meet Mike Leach years ago at an Ole Miss Texas Tech Cotton Bowl, but it was for 32 seconds in passing, so I don't know either. Not going to try to act like I do, but it seems like they are more than just buds, doesn't it?
Yeah, I do a little video show once a week with the Sports Illustrated team down in Starkville, and we were talking about this yesterday, actually, how, I mean, there's that little 3 or 4 or 5 second clip of Mike Leach kind of pulling at Kiffin's mask in Jackson the other week, and I don't know if we're going to see a little bit less toxic of a rivalry or anything moving forward, but I think both of them kind of, especially not being Mississippians, really not coached in the SEC that much, with the exception of Kiffin spending a little time at Alabama, that obviously the Egg Bowl is going to mean a lot to them, and it's a game that means a lot to the state, but I'd be a little surprised if it's kind of that toxic game that it's kind of been the last 3 or 4 years.
It would be hard. It would be almost impossible to take all the toxicity out of it. I don't know if you want to, I think you want to take the toxicity out of it, but I don't know if you want to take the competitive nature of a great rivalry that more and more people around the country are now realizing how special a game that it is a lot of times on Thanksgiving night, sometimes on the day after, always around that weekend. But it did. If the toxicity button was at 92, let's try turning it down to at least 15.
Yeah, and I mean, you're right. You want it to be tense, and you want it to be heated, but you don't want it to. You don't want it to get to the point where it gets ugly. In the last few years, it really has.
Yeah, it has, and Nate, I love going to a game in Starkville, and when we go, we usually our crew, the Ole Miss radio crew, we ride down in a van that's very festooned, University of Mississippi. I mean, it's clear who we are for and what we're riding in. And regardless, and I'm sure it's the same way. I kind of like it. It doesn't bother me when we get back to the vehicle after the game. Every thing you can think of has been smashed against that windshield. Cupcakes, food, fruit. And 1 year, and it was after an Ole Miss win, and one member of our group was really mad. Can you believe they do this? I said, one wipe of the windshield wipers to clear it off. Big deal. Big deal. I mean, it didn't bother me, and I know the very same thing happens. And I got a lot of state friends, and I intend to keep them. But last week, the historic proportions of that was just that was no small act. There had been a lot of people that had tried hard through the year, and I thought of last week, former governor, now 90-something years old, the esteemed William Winter. I guarantee you, as long as he had lived, Nate, he didn't think he had lived to see it come down.
Yeah, I'd be lying if I said I was old enough to remember Winter, but no, I mean, you're right, and it is fun just to kind of think about the role that, like we were talking about, sports had and all of this, and more than Kiffin and Leach, probably the biggest blow was that NCAA verdict that came out, I guess it was a week ago tomorrow, that essentially, I mean, the big blow is, hey, if we don't do this, you guys aren't hosting baseball regionals. Because the SEC had said some things and the schools had said some stuff, but none of it really hit that hard. It was never going to have that big of an economic blow until the NCAA came in with a threat of baseball regionals, softball regionals, that sort of stuff.
Yeah, that was a big one, kind of the double whammy from Greg Sankey and the league, and then from Mark Emmert and the NCAA. But also in there, really big, and I don't know, and through your reporting, was it one or someone close to at Ole Miss joining Kylan Hill from Columbus, Mississippi, and he could have a breakout year if we have ball with Costello winging it in the air and him pounding it out on the ground. Was anybody at Ole Miss close to joining Kylan Hill? Because metaphorically, I thought Kylan Hill really moved the rock up the tree, up the hill rather, when he said, "I'm not going to play."
Yeah, no, that's something I've been talking with a few people within the program over the last week. And as far as I found, there was no one that was, at least on the Ole Miss front, that was ready to join him in that stance. But there were a lot of people, a lot of players that had been pretty vocally supporting him on social media from Ole Miss. These kids that, I mean, quote unquote, hate each other and all that. But no, there was a lot of support for what he was saying within the Ole Miss locker room. There hadn't been anyone that was at least vocally and publicly willing to make that stand. But there was a lot of support for Kylan Hill at Ole Miss for sure.
Yeah, I thought Momo Sonogo was close, and I'm not going to try to overdo it, but I know Momo a little, and I will be shocked that when we have football and Ole Miss designates someone wearing number 38 on the defensive side in honor of the late, great Chucky Mullins, I'll be surprised. I'll be shocked if Momo's not the recipient of it. Last year wore uniform number 46 before he broke his ankle, playing special teams against Arkansas week 2. But Momo is a very deep thinker, bright young man, and going places, and a really good person.
Yeah, Momo's a great kid. It's kind of been him and Ryder Anderson, another defensive upperclassman that have kind of led the charge on that social justice movement side of things at Ole Miss. It's kind of the two of those guys in my eyes that have kind of been leading the push. But yeah, I agree with you. Momo would be a great candidate for that honor.
Last year when he was injured, he came by pregame, our spot in the Grove pregame, and came up on stage and said, "Look, while I'm hurt, let me join y'all." I go, "I know somewhere in the NCAA that breaks some rule, Momo." I said, "I'm just scared to death. I'm scared to death to put you on." And he was kidding, and he was on crutches that day, but a really great youngster. You tweeted today about the spring season prospects, and you replied to Nicole Auerbach about if you're Trevor Lawrence or Justin Fields, why would you even play in the spring? And you replied back, you wouldn't. We were talking to Bill Bender about an hour ago from the Sporting News, and he thinks there's about 40 to 50 that could be in that category, either looking to the NFL or think they could go to the NFL that would pass. Spring football sounds like a panacea for college football. I'll take it, but I don't think it would be without a lot of shortcomings.
Yeah, I mean, if I were either of those guys, Fields or Lawrence, you're not even thinking twice about playing a spring season. I'd say, I mean, if for some weird reason the NFL draft is tomorrow, those guys go 1-2 in either order, and there's not really a lot of people that are thinking twice about that. That's a given. The interesting thing with like that and kids potentially sitting out and everything is just look back a year ago. Where was Joe Burrow on draft boards? 5th round?
Nowhere.
6th round, maybe. And he ends up going number 1. So, like, that spring season, someone ends up being that guy, and that happens not to Burrow's extent, but it happens a lot every year. And it's usually not a guy rising from the 5th round to number 1. But, like, yeah, it would be weird to theoretically play a college season in which the best 2 players, the leading 2 Heisman candidates, just wouldn't play. And if you have spring football in a draft on April 25th or whatever it usually is, those guys aren't playing. They're just not.
No, and I can't blame them at all for generational money, and that's what they want to do. They want to go to the NFL, and I think both of them, not only they go 1 and 2, they start wherever they go for the 2021 season. We're visiting with Nate Gabler from Sports Illustrated, covers Ole Miss for SI Now. Keith Carter, the athletics director at Ole Miss, with comments yesterday and today after congressional testimony. In fact, in front of Senator Roger Wicker, an Ole Miss alum, yesterday on Capitol Hill, and his confidence for the college football season now waning on June 1. He felt very different than he does now on July 1 and 2, and I'm with him. I never was that confident on June 1, but I could see why athletics director Carter was. What will August 1 look like, Nate?
Hopefully August 1 is when training camps can start, like real, normal training camps. Are you predicting me to give a season update? I think we're going to have college football in the fall. Do I think there will be fans? Probably not. Do I think the season structure could change a little bit? Maybe. But I think we're going to play in the fall. I still do.
I'll take that. I'll take a limited schedule. I would take all conference games and you know, if you had 8 or 9 games, you know, 4 or 5 at home, the other ones on the road. If we get to that point on the field for Ole Miss, quarterback battle, open competition between JRP, John Rice Plumlee, and Matt Corral, or is it John Rice Plumlee's job off of last year?
I think it's an open competition, and I'd throw another name in there with Grant Tisdale. I mean, a guy that had originally entered the transfer portal in November, decided to come back after talking to Kiffin for a little bit. And, I mean, it's 3 guys that all of them are in a new system. All of them are talented, 2 4-star recruits, a 3-star recruit, with John Rice actually being the lowest ranked of the 3. But, like, I mean, obviously Corral and John Rice have a huge advantage of having played SEC games, relatively well. But, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't rule out Tisdale getting a real shot either.
Last year, Grant Tisdale, on the last play of the game at Bryant-Denny Stadium, he threw a touchdown pass. I know it was just one, but I mean picture perfect. And a lot of people out of that big high school program that he came out of really big on him. Nate, I said yesterday in discussing Matt Corral, and I know I'm blaming a lot of people. I think he has gotten one of the most undeserved college experiences between Phil Longo really not knowing he was on the roster, and then last year Rich Rodriguez not using him very well at all. And as much as I love Matt Luke, I guess Matt's got some share of the blame in there. If I'm Matt Corral and his dad, I would be really irritated how I've been coached at Ole Miss.
Yeah, I mean, last year was such a weird situation. At some point, you figured Rich Rod was going to pick a quarterback, and he never really did. And I guess it kind of became John Rice Plumlee's job towards the end of the season. But then Corral still getting thrown in and pulled out, and he, to his credit, said all the right things, did all the right things in practice. But man, it's kind of been an ugly situation for all those guys. Like, at some point, you just want someone to make a decision. Like, you don't even, like the players, like, gosh, if I'm Corral, I would have been happier if I was just told John Rice was the starter week 1 last year. Then at least I know what's going on. Like, they never knew what was going on last year.
Real quick, Nate, if we have a spring situation with college football, how would that impact John Rice Plumlee and Jerrion Ely and their baseball?
I think it would be pretty easy for John Rice. I think he'd just play football. I was never super impressed with him on the baseball field. I mean, great kid, but like he really struggled hitting a baseball. Jerrion would be a little more of a tough decision, but yet again, I mean, you're talking a guy that hit like 210, 215 versus a guy that could be one of the best running backs in the SEC. I figure he'd play football, but what do I know?
Nate, terrific visiting with you. Let's do it a bunch up to college football. And if you're optimistic plan, we have somewhat of a college football season. Have a great 4th. Enjoy some time away. I know you're getting away. Thank you so much for joining us, and look forward to doing it again soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you very much. Nate Gabler from Sports Illustrated on the Ole Miss beat with us, and it was fun. This statement just released from Dr. M. David Rudd, the president of the University of Memphis. I will read it verbatim. These are difficult and divisive times in our country. It has never been more critical for us to come together, support one another, confront our challenges, recognize our shortcomings, and move forward with common vision and shared values. Our Tiger football team recently decided they will wear a Black Lives Matter emblem on their helmet during the upcoming season. I want to make clear this does not represent endorsement of any political entity or affiliated group. It represents a commitment to social justice and American values we all embrace, but have not fully realized as a country. As a veteran who served during the Gulf War, I can speak personally to an unwavering dedication to our constitutional values with a passionate and steadfast commitment to liberty, equality, and free speech. The exercise of free speech is essential to a representative republic. I support our athletic department, our head coach, and our football team. I am proud of our young men for demonstrating leadership, encouraging civility, and for their genuine efforts to unite us so our University of Memphis family become even stronger together. That was the statement from Dr. M. David Rudd. We take this break. We round out hour number 2. You're listening to Sports Time.
Sports 56 Mornings with Peter Edmiston and C.J. Hertz. Weekdays from 7 to 10. Only on Sports 56, 96.1 and 87.7 FM.
Happy summer to everyone from the Rendezvous in the Alley in downtown Memphis since 1948. And don't forget about their shipping, but you always can visit the restaurant 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. Tuesday through Saturday. Want a taste of Memphis to celebrate the 4th of July? The Rendezvous, they've got you covered. They've been shipping ribs and pork shoulder all over the country now for decades from their USDA-inspected kitchen right in the Pinch District in downtown Memphis. All of the ribs are hand-cooked in pits over charcoal, just as they do it at the restaurant. And the shoulder, it's slow-smoked over hickory for 14 hours. In addition to the ribs and shoulder, the Rendezvous ships pork nacho boxes, as well as their signature sauces and seasonings. You can order at hogsfly.com, or you can always visit In the Alley since 1948, the Rendezvous. Don't forget that Memphis institution in downtown Memphis in the Alley since 1948, Mr. Charlie Virgos and family's famous restaurant, the Rendezvous.
Napa know-how.
At Napa, we've stopped thinking outside the box. Instead, we're thinking inside the bucket. The $2.99 Napa bucket, to be exact. When you fill those bad boys with auto parts, you can get 20% off 3 or more items that fit inside. No overthinking required. Just get your bucket, fill it up, and save 20%. Quality parts, helpful people. That's Napa know-how.
Napa know-how.
At participating Napa Auto Parts stores, exclusions apply. May not be combined with other offers. Offer ends 7/31/20.
For streaming, creating, gaming, and more, power your passions for less during Dell's exceptional cyber savings event. Enjoy up to $400 off stunning laptops like the XPS, along with high-performance desktops and next-level Alienware systems, redefining what's possible with 10th Gen Intel Core processors. Shop special prices on top brand electronics and accessories, plus enjoy free shipping on everything. Don't forget to ask for Intel when you call 800-BY-DELL. That's 800-BY-DELL.
Now, more of Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brad Norsworthy.
I almost love telling you about Jason's Deli as much as I love going there. And it is terrific. All the locations in Memphis, Ridgeway Road, Poplar and Highland, Olive Branch, and Cordova. They wish everyone a happy 4th and a great weekend ahead. Everything safe and very conscious of the times that we are in. Almost 200 employees at the Memphis locations, Memphis and area locations of Jason's Deli. They appreciate everybody for sticking with them and sticking it out through this, and they are really trying very hard to keep that great service up at all the locations. Jason's Deli, healthy, first franchise in the nation to be trans fat free. Jason's Deli, all about choice. You got a lot of choices just with the salads. The Mesa chicken salad, the chicken club salad, the nutty mixed up salad, the Big Chef salad, my favorite, the taco salad. You got choice with the soups. You got choice with the cheeses, the meats, the breads, the spreads. It's all great at Jason's Deli. The vegetarian sandwiches, the healthy kids meals. You could build your own selection to invent your sandwich via the build your own selection. You'll be delighted at Jason's Deli. All the organic food to choose from, the best sweet tea in town. The salad bar, 30 items to choose from. They will prepare it for you. Now, you go through, they have a person at the salad bar stands. You tell them exactly what you want in it. They'll build it to suit you, catering anytime, anywhere, and in the restaurant. Very careful with the gloves and careful with the free ice cream at Ridgeway Road, Poplar and Highland, Olive Branch, and Cordova. Check them out online as well at jasonsdeli.com. Speaking of safe, the Mississippi Gaming Commission just now breaking, requiring all players, spectators, and guests, that means anybody in the building, to wear a mask inside Mississippi casinos starting Friday night, 8 p.m. Mandatory, no exceptions. You will be required to wear a mask at any of the casinos in Mississippi. At the First Bank text line, 67129. Got a couple of good texts, and I want more, please. 67129, First Bank text line, because I will do, and Drew will join me to have the 10 best college football games you've ever been to. Don't worry about 10. Give me 1 or 2 or 3. We will do 10 of them. And a texter says Tennessee versus Florida, 2000, Jabbar Gaffney no catch before instant replay. Well, it wasn't a catch, but it was ruled a catch, and a tough luck loss for Tennessee that day. It would never stand now. He didn't have that ball. 2 seconds. I don't know how it stood that day. It was a horrible call. And Florida, the beneficiary of it that day, that's a good one. Also, this one, and it comes